Hey everyone, Mario again, coming at you with another review. As you can tell, it's another entry in Oscar reviews. Today's review is a film that I had seen bits and pieces of in the past, mostly the ending. I hadn't seen it all the way through. And we watched it during the week in my English 103 class, which is critical thinking and writing. And partially it's tying into the first essay we were writing for the class, which is about consumerism. Which, if you watch this film, you notice that this film does kind of have an anti-excessive consumerism message. I guess you could say kind of in the same vein of how RoboCop, part of its satire is making fun of consumerism of the 80s. This film is making fun of excess consumerism in general, and if you watch the film, or have watched the film, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's kind of blatant a little bit, but it's done in the right way. It's not like, let's say, Machete beaten over the head with his message. This way it's more in the background, but still kind of important to the story of the film. The film, of course, I'm talking about is WALL-E. Now, this is a film that most people usually love, and better be one ring. Oh, it's Rite Aid. Wonder what they want. Anyway. Like I said, this is a film most people love because it has an 8.5 on IMDb, which for that site could be a little lower, mostly because that site usually seems a little fickle with its ratings. Maybe a little bit more than Rotten Tomatoes, but Rotten Tomatoes has an 89 with an audience, and 96 with the critics, and this seems like a film that the critics would praise more than the audience would, but it's one of the times I do agree with them. The consensus is charming, audacious, and timely. WALL-E's lighthearted magic and stellar visuals testify once again to Pixar's ingenuity. And I will agree with that, because looking at the list of films that Pixar has made, I can't really think of any of them that I would say would be, all around bad. I mean, Toy Story, Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters, Inc., Finding Nemo, The Incredibles. Cars might be the closest one to being like, and maybe its sequel, but I haven't seen the original in a long time. Ratatouille, another good one. Up. Toy Story 3. Brave, depending on who you ask, might be another misstep, but I liked it. And I still haven't watched Monsters University yet. I know. But WALL-E, I wouldn't say this is my favorite of the Pixar Disney films. It'd probably be in the mid-high level, because I think probably my favorite is either Monsters, Inc. or The Incredibles. I'd have to watch all of them. Maybe Up might be that spot now. Maybe one of these days in the future I'll do a Pixar movie marathon. That'd be an interesting thing to do. But anyway, this film, it qualifies for Oscar reviews because it was nominated for several. It won Best Animated Feature. It was also nominated for Best Original Screenplay, which I can agree with it being nominated that. Best Original Score. Best Original Song, I don't remember hearing the song, so I don't know about that one. Sound Editing is an animated film, I can see it. And Sound Mixing. Now, it lost to Slumdog Millionaire for Score, Song, and Mixing, Dark Knight for Sound Editing, and Milk for Original Screenplay. So, it lost to some good films. I don't know about Slumdog Millionaire, because I haven't seen that film, and I never even heard of it before that Oscar, and I have a feeling that that's probably just one that they gave that's not going to really hold the test of time, but we'll just see when I watch it. Now, the film takes place in the distant future, the year 2805. Earth is covered in garbage due to decades of mass consumerism facilitated by the mega corporation By and Large, BNL. Which, as the film goes on, you can really see that this is, like I said before, this film is kind of a satire on excess consumerism, which, if you look at today's day and age, you can see a lot of what it's making fun of. And I could sort of agree with it, just like how if you grew up in the 80s and know about 80s culture, you could see what RoboCop's making fun of. Same thing, except this one takes it to the nth degree, because it's really enlarges it, especially in the final act when you see what has happened to humanity since it's been in space. But anyway, getting back to where I am. The Earth has been evacuated for 700 years, and they've left behind WALL-E trash compactor robots to clean up the planet. Apparently, only one of them still exists, and it has somehow developed some sort of sentience, and he remains active by repairing himself using parts from other units. Apart from his regular duties, he collects human artifacts that keeps him at home, like he has an iPod video that he uses with this one thing to hook up with a VHS thing to be a TV. He has a working Atari 2200, I believe it is. I think that's the model name because he was playing Pong on it. It's only briefly shown in the scene. He has a bunch of other stuff in there, so he keeps himself busy. Now, one thing I have to say, WALL-E's design does seem to be inspired by Johnny Five from the Short Circuit films, which I'd say that's kind of a homage, and I can see the design of Johnny Five being kind of practical for a robot design to clean up. And I have a feeling Johnny Five would rather do what WALL-E's doing than what he was originally programmed to do, you know, be a military robot. And it's, I guess they also did use the design because the fact that the robot does have sentience, because as we see, he does fall in love, as I'm getting to that. One day, WALL-E discovers a seedling plant, which, with how the world has been since humans left, is kind of rare. Anyway, after he puts it in his house, a spaceship lands and deploys Eve, an advanced robot probe sent from the starliner Axion to search for vegetation on Earth. And Axiom is the star cruiser that all of humanity, or a good portion of them, is on. Now, of course, WALL-E falls in love with the initially cold and hostile Eva. Eva is what he calls her, but Eve, I guess, is what it would be, unless the E is like an sound, I guess. Now, over time, she softens and befriends him, and he shows her around that part of Earth a little bit. And then when she is showed the plant, she goes into standby mode, and she's eventually collected and goes to the Axiom, which WALL-E goes with her, and aboard the ship is where where you get to see what's become of humanity, see a little bit more of the satire about consumerism. And of course, it eventually goes into a thing with the autopilot, and then WALL-E and Eve trying to save the day, basically. And that's all of the plot I'm going to go into, because the rest of it is something I think if you haven't seen the film, I say you give it a watch. I'd say if you don't want to watch the film because WALL-E's design is kind of like Johnny Five's, I'd say kind of leave that at the door, because I guess I noticed that, and that's part of the reason I didn't watch it all the way through. But the film does have a charm to it. Now, the first part of the movie, the only dialogue is what little WALL-E and Eve can say. It's mostly based on how they react. And there is humor within it, which it shows that, you know, the best thing about comedy is timing, I guess, or the basic rule of all comedy, I should say, is timing. And that continues throughout the rest of the film. And it gets a little bit dark, and I'd say it's a little dark. I'm not going to spoil it, but when you watch the film, you see what I mean. And the ending does kind of seem sad, but it doesn't have a downbeat ending. It has a very upbeat ending, which I think a film like this kind of deserves, especially since it's a Disney Pixar film. I mean, they're not going to give you a fully dark ending. I mean, if they didn't use the ending from the book of the Hunchback of Notre Dame, they're not going to do a super, super dark ending in this film. But the film just has enough darkness to fit the subject matter. And it makes for an interesting watch. But like I said, it's not my favorite of the Pixar films, but you never know. Maybe when I watch all of them, it might be. I'd say it's probably among my favorite of the Disney films, but among the Disney Pixar, I've already said. As you can tell from me watching it, I actually do agree with it winning Best Animated Feature. I want to see real quickly what it beat, because I know if my memory is correct, the Best Animated Feature one came into development, I think, almost 10 years after Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture, which I'm surprised it took them that long. Winners and nominations, let's see. WALL-E, it beat Bolt, which is another great film, and Kung Fu Panda. So at least it beat two equally great films. Funny that Disney Pixar won 3 years in a row. 7 was won by Ratatouille, which beat Surf's Up, and I don't know how to pronounce that. And Up beat Coraline, Fantastic Mr. Fox, The Princess and the Frog, and The Secret of Kells. And then the following year, Toy Story 3 won, and then Brave won in last year. Yeah, so they're dominating it. And I have to probably note that also The Incredibles and Finding Nemo won the award. Of course, the first winner of this Oscar was Shrek, and it beat Monsters, Inc., so I haven't seen that film in a while. Maybe, I'll probably do the Shrek films independently one of these days, along with its spin-off, because I don't think I've ever reviewed those films. Now, is there anything else to say about the film without giving anything away? Not really, because, like I said, it's a film I want you guys to watch. I give the film a rating of... I'd say 4.5 out of 5 stars. Like I said, if you're a little hesitant because of Wally's design, I'd say watch it anyway if you're a fan of Disney films. If not, I'd say just give it a watch. Just see that message I mentioned and see some of the humor in it. And I could tell you, as you know, a slight connection to the class I'm in, some of the stuff that's in this movie is going to be mentioned a lot in my essay, because I do have a good thing to say about consumerism in the essay. But maybe one of these days I'll put the link in the video description box. I don't know, but like I said, 4.5 out of 5 stars, and that's it. Oh yeah, the animation. I forgot to talk about the animation. The animation for this film is pretty good. The humans, it works. And another thing I forgot to mention. This is one thing I'm glad I remembered it. This film actually does incorporate live action into it. I mean, the movies Wally's watching is live action, and there's even parts where we have live action actors in it, which is a little weird. It's like one of them is I'm trying to remember, Fred Willard. He's the CEO of By and Large, so it's like, what, we see him? It's kind of interesting to see him there. It adds a little bit of humor to see the live action interacting with the CGI animation. Anyway, 4.5 out of 5, and that's it.